Tonight, some of the top short track racers in all of Misfit Racing League competition look to see if they can become $50 richer. It's the 2024 edition of the Spring Classic, and it's here on Podium Esports. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince alongside the booth tonight, Jake Sperry with Ryan Bauer producing as we get set to go racing from South Boston Speedway. Tonight, just about a fully stacked field of drivers just about set to go. Some of the top drivers in all of the platform looking to see what they can do tonight amongst the community when it comes to MRL. Jake, tonight should be a fun one from South Boston.
It absolutely should be. We're just coming off the end of a season, a new one to begin on the 1st of April. But what you really understand about today, it's about fun first and foremost. But secondly, it's about stretching the legs and saying who's got what it takes. 225 laps in your main event. Of course, we've got to qualify everybody in to make sure that they're all ready and situated. But this is going to feel like an absolutely hard-earned victory today. 14-second laps. This is going to feel like a long one, and this is going to be about being right place, right time.
There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the format as a result here tonight. Let's take a look at that real quick in a moment. But when it comes to South Boston, remember, just 0.4 miles this facility. It's a racetrack where the Burdens made a name for themselves. After all, it's America's hometown track. 12 degrees of banking around this facility. Most of the time, though, Jake, you want to be at the bottom of the racetrack. You can get the middle to work defensively.
You can, and it's about pinching the lane that you get to find around these corners. You can run that bottom line. It is the most important line out there, but if you can run the middle, you're pinching middle to bottom. If you can take half a lane, you've definitely got that as a defensive track that's there to work with. Those 12 degrees of banking are going to be crucial in terms of getting that run, and just looking at how everyone's been pushing about here in terms of the practice efforts that they've all been putting in. A lot of laps have been run. It is so dusty and marbly on the outside of the circuit. It shows that everyone's trying to get as many laps in under their belt as they can.
Here's that event format referred to just a moment ago. 32 entrants, the cap for today's event. We're at near the cap already. The top 5 in qualifying directly locked the feature. Remember, though, it is single car qualifying. Each driver gets 3 laps for a chance to be able to advance directly to the top 5 tonight. You also have 2 heat races, 15 laps apiece, so the top 7 in each of those heats advance. The last chance race, though, if you don't advance from that heat, you only have 20 laps to get into the top 2. Remember, the winner gets $50 today. 21 drivers are scheduled to start for the feature, 225 laps. That's a lot of laps with an invert of 11 currently set by the sim. So there's a lot of cars to invert, Jake.
It is, and I think what's going to be very, very key is that a lot of these drivers are going to realize that they are going to have to work tonight. They're going to have to try and pick apart their way through the field, navigate early dramas out there in case there's any cautions or anything like that they have to deal with. Those 225 laps, there are going to be nerves in the early stages, but the more that they get to settle into a rhythm, the easier this race is going to be. And I believe we're just about ready to jump over towards qualifying and what makes such an important session tick.
Let's find out. The first driver on the racetrack, per those forwarded in the sim, is Justin Brooks. Now, he's one of the drivers you're going to want to keep an eye on, the 33 car in sim tonight, because on top of being a solid painter and with experience in eNASCAR competition on other platforms, he just so happens to now be one of the top late model drivers in all of iRacing. He's built up a good repertoire of good experience in wins on the platform in this car. And already the 2 laps he's done with his fastest lap, starting off with a 14.2. Jared Shell, he looks to start off solid in this session. Second car on track. He's in a BMW livery for this one.
Well, he's got to really make sure that he's going to make that work. Apparently there's some German engineering there. 14.5, about 3/10 off the pace then with that one, but hoping that there's going to be a little bit more available, but that will be the 2 laps available then on this final push towards the line, and it is a slight improvement. 14.505. Not really going to be able to get much more out of that, but it just goes to show you what the difference is in terms of getting that car to turn or not. It's now the 35 who'll be next on an effort. It's Tanner Burge who is next to try and make that happen.
Burge is a rear-world racer at Slainer. He is next on the deck in the 35 car in the sim. Then next up on the racetrack will be the 45. Currently, Burge is onto the racetrack. He is also a competitor in Sara. That's one of the top short track racing leagues in all of iRacing. And if you can do well there, you can do really well here.
Yeah, so if he can find that little bit of confluence that's there, he's got it sorted. Now we'll take a driver's eye view. This is what he's got to do to try and really ratchet up the pace, drive it through some of these corners and really get as much as he can off of the exit here. This is not going to be as easy as maybe you'd hope, but that's a good start, 14.3. We'll see whether he can get a little bit more out of it in his next couple laps.
He did set a 14.257 in final practice. Can he get to that same ballpark? The time looks to be 14.362. The answer is no. Michael Weisman is now on the racetrack next. The 45 is due up in the order. There goes the 45, off and away. And for those wondering, why are they weaving like this for the tires? Tire heat is paramount. People have different ways of doing it.
Look, some drivers are going to look to try and aggressively make turns on the steering wheel, knowing that they've got to get the heat in quickly. Others like to drag the brake, and there's a huge slide off there of 2. Weisman has to be really alert to how loose his machinery is. Gets himself over towards the line. 14.7, the slide definitely wouldn't have helped. Off again through 1 and 2 and trying to really push for something more. He knows what's going to be crucial out there in terms of putting the time on the board. Jace Hale's got a time of 14.8. I'm not sure he was supposed to be out on track, but over the line, 14.322. Thank you very much. 45, guess what he wants?
Solid run, gets him towards the middle of the board so far. Next on the racetrack, Dylan Calabro. He followed in the order by the 72 machine of Jake Grout. Then it's the 84 of Gio Turpin, Jake Sylvia after that. So keeping an eye on the 71. We've seen him do well with the dirt last time. He's one of the drivers with the RKM support with Ryan Kuhn's setup group.
Well, Dylan Calabro is someone who's been going from strength to strength with the Misfit Leagues and has been flying and doing exactly what he's needed to do, just quietly picking up a better pace, and that 14.34 is going to be good enough to go to 4th position, but I think he's got a little bit more in the tank here if he wants to go and really push it, leaving about, I'd say, about 6 inches there down that bottom line. 14.333 does improve, but doesn't gain the position.
That puts Jake Grout next to the racetrack. That is one of his factory teammates, in fact. He's going to be 49 on racetrack based on his livery. However, this is also one of Grout's better cars. He's already being told, pick up the pace. You cannot run that slow to warm the tires.
Yeah, and that pace to warm the tyres up, drivers are going to try and get as much of an advantage as they possibly can, sliding out the corner, really trying to open up. And he's running that high line. He's wanting to try and get a little bit of a jump then off of the final corner to make his big lap happen. That 14.6 isn't going to get the job done, but the 72 running 49 on the side is really hoping that he's got what it takes here with this second lap. Is this going to be a bit better? It certainly is going to try and look it. 14.319 is going to move 3rd fastest.
That's going to bring the next up in the same grouping. In fact, it's Gio Turpin, who is in the same practice rotation. Very young driver on the platform, a fan of Jimmy Johnson, as you can guess, but he is somebody that runs for Dwayne Carroll Racing as of a few years ago in terms of multiple different racing leagues. Today, trying to see how today goes in Misfit.
Yeah, he's certainly hoping for a good run here, and this is going to be where you've got to switch on and hope that lap time really does find it. Blinking about everywhere here is Gio. That's not going to do him many favors. 14.394 on the opening attempt, and it is going to be really distracting. I think these drivers are going to have to be aware of this 84 as he goes around on the circuit, trying to maximize that time. 14.4 on that attempt. I would say not what the doctor ordered.
Not the greatest of runs, as that will bring next on the deck Jake Sylvia. He is currently, as of the past month, the director of league competition for Misfit Racing League. He's got experience as an admin in a couple other series, but now he's the one laying the law down in this campaign for the upcoming seasons.
Look, Jake Sylvia is the sort of driver who knows what short track racing is. He has a style of it, and he absolutely wants to go out and give the best showcase of short track every time he's out on circuit. 14.6, not quite there at the moment, but he is dicing it down low, flirting with the apron as he tries to put it through. 14.331. He's a little off the pace here today, surprised to say that, but 5th place. Sylvia's going to have some work to do in the race here.
We're talking about that a little bit in the practice session, too. He was middle of the road in that session. Next up on the racetrack, though, is going to be the 89 Bradley Stefan, not on track. That means the next car in the order is the one on circuit right now. It's Brett McCoy. An interesting paint scheme for the one machine. One of those old-time style ones when you think about it from the 1980s or 90s.
Listen, this is what iRacing's all about. You get to run the classics from time to time, and that's what Brett McCoy has chosen with his trading paints to go out there and do. And there's such a talented array of painters out there in the iRacing sphere. It is incredible what this service can do for all sorts of different areas. His 3rd lap coming across the line is a 14.36, so that will jump in between Calabro and Gio Turpin, and that will put now car number 5-7 on the side. It's the big red machine of Alex Coffey.
So we'll see where Coffey flies around this racetrack. He's the 5 in sim, but the number 7 on the Sims racetrack. Right now, he's trying to use his Toyota TRD power to try and get the diamond down for that 2nd lap we've seen be so critical for many.
Yeah, everybody's been looking at building up the lap, building up the momentum. When you've only got 0.4 of a mile, you need a couple laps to get yourself up into the right range, the right temperature, the right ability to attack. 14.274, front row for Alex Coffey at the moment. That, I would say, is more than a cup of coffee. He's got himself very much caffeinated with a run like that. Casey Quigley is up next.
And that means on the bubble, Michael Weisman to be those automatically locked into the feature. The bubble time, 14.322. Quickly in final practice, ran in the 4s. Can he find a lot of pace here?
Well, that's going to be the question here. 14.4 doesn't necessarily say that the pace is there, but when you've got drivers running around race spec, they maybe don't have qualifying spec. That's a 14.37 out there at the moment, so that puts him behind Brett McCoy. So to get into that top 5, he needs half a tenth to jump up, but that doesn't do it. That's a 14.5, and Quigley's going to be on the outside looking in terms of times, and he'll have more work to do out there trying to put everything together.
Towards the back, it looks like. Of note, Chase Hale appears to have qualified out of order. He was next up. Instead, it's Ed Papineau. Now for Papineau, his best time in final practice was also the 14.4s. Ed needs to find a lot of pace to be able to get into the show, at least 2/10 compared to his practice tempo. He starts off the session on the chip in the 14.6s.
Yep, so he's going to need a bit more, and this is going to be a real key here to see how aggressive he's having to use the steering to try and turn in. Is there much counter steer? Yeah, there's a lot of it. He's really fighting. Try and get that time in, 14.56. Papineau's got a car that's very, very loose and wasn't really wanting to play ball on the power.
That brings next Ty Dennis. After this, it's Craig Wilcott, Case and Howell, and Grant Brown. Take a look at Dennis. So far for Dennis, he's also been towards the bottom of the board in the sessions. That car does not look comfortable at all.
No, it really doesn't, and especially on that first real effort that we've seen from Dennis, that could have really just scuppered any sort of run. 14.6 from a car that's looking pretty sluggish in the middle at this moment in time. We'll see whether there's something more, getting right down low, really trying to hook some form of grip through the final section. Still a 14.6, 6.48. Ty Dennis has got a car that's not really wanting to make something happen, and now it's going to mean the 12's going to come out. Craig Wilcott is now going to hope that he's got a time that's going to be good enough to jump him inside the top 5, or if not, in a good grid position for the heats.
Not sure why it was on the backstretch pit lane, though, to start off this hot lap. That might be looked upon here with him all the way into turn 4 already to start off the lap. A 15.1 starts off the session, though. Can he find a lot more this time? Wilcott was amongst those in the middle of the road in final practice in the 14.4s. This time a 14.5 again, well out of the show, as that brings up the next in the order, Kaysen Howe, the 13. He'll be driving the blue and red machine, and it looks like he knows the way of the tires at least.
He does know the way of the tires, so he will certainly be looking for the blue and red to start opening up, and this is where you got to start being alert, trying to search, run the line there, the apron, as much as possible through 1 and 2, and then through at 3 and 4. You're either going to struggle with understeer, try and gather it back up, or you're going to be very nice and pointy through there. 14.382, not bad, just behind Casey Quigley in terms of a lap time, but this is going to be where the money is, having to wiggle a little bit more going through, but runs high through the middle groove, looking to get something out that lap, and he does. He gets 100th, and he just about jumps Casey Quigley.
Believe that Grant Brown also qualified out of turn. He was towards mid-pack, so that puts Deegan Smith on the racetrack. Deegan Smith, one of the youngest members of the series. We talked about this. He works with Fusion. That team will be building a lot of the dirt setups for Misfit Racing League this upcoming month for its start of a new campaign. So far, Smith also has showed good speed in the races we've seen here on the short tracks on pavement. 14.2s was the pace he put up in final practice. He looks very loose though now.
He does. He's someone who's definitely got hit and miss form. Sometimes he is absolutely lightning. Other times, you know, you're going to start trying to search a little bit further back for him. 14.6, that slide didn't help, but the 14.3 was good enough to put him inside top 10. 8th place with that, wouldn't really argue too much. Charlie Bates will be next up, hoping that his lap time is going to be enough. Car number 16 out there on circuit at the moment, and I would say this is going to be one of those drivers again to keep an eye out on. He was in the 14.2s. He's hoping he can replicate.
World Short Track racer, we've seen him race especially across Wisconsin, and Wisconsin Dells looking to be very fast. He's known for being able to drive multiple different classes, and he's blown the motor. He taped it solid and he blew it up.
That is a big concession, because you'd feel like you'd have gathered momentum to jump up maybe 2, 3, 4 places. It costs him a top 5. Charlie Bates will only look at himself. Tyler Muller now will come out in the 18 machine and hope that he's got something up his sleeve to get close to Brooks and Coffey and Tanner Burge, who's currently 3rd fastest. Here's someone who definitely could, I would say, flirt around that top 5.
Our driver that we've seen race in events such as ASR over the years. He's done well in those races. This time by, though, a 14.338, the best he can do on the board. The next driver in the order would be the car number 20. That's Jevin Gorlowski. He was one of the last to join the session. That 20 machine driving for Sharp Design, looking to see if he can have a sharp qualifying run. Despite being one of the final drivers to join the session, he was in the 14.4s in final practice.
Well, it's going to be one of those laps where Jevin Goralski is going to need to find that momentum and do so quickly. 14.417, so he's already faster than his practice time, but he does need to break now I would say a 10th barrier here into the 14.3s if he wants to gain any more time out there. Over the line he'll go, and that is another 14.4, so was unable to gain anything more. Well, we know how quick his pace is. It is to the 1,000th of a second.
That will cross us over in a moment as Kevin tries to bump it up a little bit more. I think it was actually slower than his last times. Kevin Miles, regardless, he's now on the racetrack. 22 machine in sim was also around that average we're seeing in the 14.4s. Right now, that pace would put him at the back of one of the heats.
Well, he's looking for some pace. He's looking to try and channel his inner Joey Logano at the moment, trying to rush over towards the line. 14.610. That is further towards the back at the moment. Just jumps Ty Dennis, so he's going to need about a half a tenth to jump Ed Papineau and gain a little bit more out there. Miles hoping to get inside that top 20, and he'll find it with a 14.56, an extra place, P19.
Still out of the show, though, based on the pylon. That brings up Nick Rayberg, who's due up in the 23. And it looks like he's off at a whirling. It's going to be 17 on a racetrack. You can see the tire efforts already at work. Already the field, including himself, being told, don't be that slow. Once again, already he's looking for the diamond line.
He is, and that's what you're going to see. Drivers are going to try and use some of the banking, have gravity help them, jump down the circuit and give themselves that extra little bit of a slingshot. Nick Rayberg is certainly hoping that his 23 machine is going to go out there and put a time down in. Now, 14.37 is not bad at all in terms of that first effort that he's got going, but if he can find a little bit more, he's only got to find 5 thousandths. He's jumped 2 places, a hundredth of a second might be the difference of 5. 3.79 couldn't improve.
And that puts him towards the middle-ish back. That brings up Kyle Adams, the longtime community director now, one of the founders of Misfit Racing League. And once again, his car's for sale for the second straight event. This time, he looks like to have borrowed some parts from Jeff Gordon's cars.
Yep, so he's certainly going to be someone searching out there, hoping that he's got some time. But look, this is going to be a case of you've got to put everything together to get something sorted. There's sponsor space, there's panel space, there's everything space, and if it's second-hand, well, it's doing quite well. 14.394, it's good.
That's exactly what he did in final practice, by the way, so right on the dot. Unfortunately, he needs another 10 spots to move up. Does not move up there. That was a 10th slower. Next up on the docket is Trevor Ward. And Ward is 16 on racetrack, 27 in sim. The New England region driver. Final practice was also in the 4s. He's a part of those in the RKM camp as well, per the hood.
Yeah, so he's hoping that he can do what he wants, and that first lap will be officially classified as a 2-minute 3, so that one won't count. But this is where you're going to have to be alert, and drivers who find themselves in setup shops often get themselves that tiny bit of an advantage because you've got multiple people working to try and get that setup sorted. It might not be for him, though. 14.49 is pretty off the pace, and that is, I would say, middle to late in terms of what he's looking for. And as he makes that charge over towards the line, pretty much putting towards the end of qualifying in 14.5, the car never hooked.
And that is still well into the show, still in the teens. If he wants a shot to be able to go on, he'll need to be able to race his way forward. So that basically does it for those set to take times. Grand total of 5 drivers were registered in session who did not take times, including one scheduled. Brady Stefane did not join in for the session as well. Matt Urban did not set qualifying times. He is currently not at the facility. Same for Kedrick Kayer and Waylon Robinson. A 5th driver, Jake Sperry, is currently in the broadcast booth, so he's excused. Here's a look at the qualifying results, though. It's Brooks, Coffey, Burge, Grout, and Wiseman who advance. Those 5 advanced early on. Jake Sylvia, 8 1/1000ths out of the show for at least the direct feature.
It is, and I tell you what, it's a very close qualifying out there in terms of what everyone's been able to put together on the docket. But the one thing that they all know is that they do have to rush themselves through these heats. Now, these 2 heats, 7 transfer, 15-lap heats, so there's not much time in order to put everything together, but they can be quite frenetic and quite fast. And when you got 13 into 7, 6 are not going to find themselves as happy campers, Jake Sylvia and Tyler Muller on that front row.
We'll see how they start things off from the front row. Deegan Smith also in the comfortable spot alongside Grant Brown. Brown did not advance. He was middle of the field. We've seen qualifying on the board. Casey Quigley, Kyle Adams will be in row 3 for this one. Then it's Jevin Gorelski and Jared Schell will be in the top 8. Schell, the first out, currently based on starting spots. Kevin Miles starts 9th. Ty Dennis rounds out the top 10. And the rest of your scheduled starters are not at the facility. Here's a look at the weather conditions. Keep in mind it's 70 AM locked time in sim. Not expecting the temperature to change too much. 83 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 is the air temp.
So with conditions fairly ideal, don't expect too much of a shock around in terms of what everyone's looking in terms of pace and condition. This is going to be a sort of track that's going to naturally generate the old school way out there at the moment, and I think that's going to be quite telling. Drivers are going to have to worry about the marble build-up on the higher lines, so that's going to make the higher lines a little bit more slipperier, a little bit more difficult to try and run and get the grip that's wanted, and it's also going to mean that it's going to be a race to the bottom on this circuit.
So once again, remember the format, top 7 advance. So the rest of the field will have to go to the LCQ if they're not able to get through these 15 laps of racing. Just about all set as Tyler Muller is a little bit anxious to get rolling on the pace lap. Who do you think has the speed to get the job done amongst this heat grid to get at least the victory?
Well, Tyler Muller had to be buckled up there on the start. Everybody was getting ready. He wasn't. He's trying to get those heat, or that heat, into the tyres as quickly as possible. Sylvia's got the easiest job in the world. He's at the front. He loves racing at the front. He raced at the front in the entirety of the Misfit League series that we've had going through the winter into spring. So I reckon he's going to get the job done. I think the big key, though, is who's going to qualify themselves in. That is going to be a case of Jarowski versus the rest. Watch out for someone like Kevin Miles looking to try and make some progress.
Just a lap away from the start of heat racing for the 2024 edition of the Spring Classic. Misfit Productions and Misfit Racing League. All the lead up into the summer series that begins the first Monday of April. April the 1st, in fact, in California. Just about set to go for the first heat. It's Sylvia alongside Tyler Muller. 2 series veterans alongside to begin things off for the racing. 15 laps on the board. We're underway from Sobo. And a clean launch for your top 2. Already, Smith looking for second, a bit to the inside. 2 by 2 for most of the field. Grant Brown gets shuffled back to 4th.
Muller just slightly tagged the wall there, coming off of 2, and again he's going to clip it coming off of 4. So Sylvia is getting the elbows out. He's covering just about 1 line at the front, but now this is going to open the door up. Watch out for Deegan. He's searching low. He's hoping he can take second away.
Looking to try to wrap the bottom. Forced to check though as Sylvia gets loose. Sylvia having a bit of a tough time in the short run. This is exactly what we talked about a little bit. You're able to pinch down from that middle line. That's what Muller's doing, although Sylvia's pushing him up the track already. They've been doing each other off and on for 3 laps straight. There they go again.
Yeah, this is as close quarters as it gets. Sylvia loves to take it to the nth degree, and at the moment he's taking it a bit more. Kyle Adams in the back very nearly had a spin a lap ago, but we managed to keep themselves together. But again, running that high line, Tyler Muller is just keeping himself a nuisance on the outside track. Pulls to alongside, rushing through 3 and 4, needing to get the power down early, not having that luxury, but he is making sure that Jake Sylvia is having to work this through at the 1/3 stage.
Kyle Adams is currently holding onto the bubble spot for those curious. He's got that spot by about a car length and a half, in fact, down to about a car length over Jared Shell. And now it's a big smoke pop-ups. You can tell Shell's getting a little bit anxious back there. Just can't close the gap, as the reason for all the smoke is Muller's hit the wall again. Deegan Smith just about fully clear for second. Sylvia is up on top side.
Yep, he's having to force there because, again, Deegan Smith is very happy just to poke the nose where some would say it doesn't belong, but he does just about enough. And as much as they are scrapping, they are also searching for the grip. And now, all of a sudden, front 3 to line. Keep an eye out, though, near the transfer. Casey quickly, side by side right now, as Jarowski has made a really good run over the course of 8 laps, 9 laps here. He's looking to try and really rustle up some feathers, and he's trying to get through, and suddenly Jared Shell's going to realise that he's running out of time, and he has got to get close and hope that they're going to chalk up too wide, and someone like Kyle Adams right now is bottled up behind.
Coming up to 5 laps to go. Right now, Shell trying to find a way to reach out to the outside. That seems to be the line. Adams defends it for a moment. Shell still can't poke the nose alongside the quarter panel. Quickly also starting to drop back top side. Now it's side by side for the 7th position, up to as high as 6, with Quigley dropping back and dropping back quickly late.
Yeah, this is going to be a massive scramble, just as it is at the front. The best form of defense right now for Adams. Going to be attacked. Spin there in the back. That's going to be, I believe, Dennis, who has gone around there. Ty Dennis in the 11 into the barriers. He's gone off the circuit, so that means we stay green here for the moment. But at least as it stands, this is going to be close for. It's too wide pretty much everywhere with a couple of popsicle sticks left.
Couple laps to go. New race leader Tegan Smith. He's just about clear of Sylvia. Does Sylvia elect to use a bumper to take away heat race win? That's the question, with the white flag waving this time by. Solid bumper to the transfer spot. Jared Shell is now in that bubble position with the battle alongside Quigley for the final lap. But for Tegan Smith up front, he'll take the checker as Sylvia fades back. Just about knocks the wall down for second. All for the bubble, and Shell, who holds off Quigley to advance. Also advancing, Smith, Sylvia, Moore, Gorelski, along with Grant Brown. Kyle Adams did get 6th. And in the end, Jared Shell moves on in the final spot to advance directly to the feature. Going home includes Quigley, Miles, and Dennis, or should say, going to the garage for the consolation for one of those final chances to prevent going home. Next little bit. Pressure's on for those drivers. Pressure's on for these drivers too to directly advance to the feature. Let's take a look now at heat number 2. Dylan Calbro just about set to hit the racetrack alongside Charlie Bates. They'll be on the front row of this one. They're both in the 3s in qualifying. Row 2 is Brett McCoy, real-world racer from Rockford. Alongside Case and Howe in the 4th position. Then it's Nick Rayberg in the top 5 alongside Gio Turpin. In the top 4 rows, Trevor Ward and Craig Wilcott. And your top 10 positions on the racetrack, Ed Papineau and Jace Hale. By the way, 2 drivers were scheduled to start in this heat who are not here on the racetrack, Matt Urban, Bradley Steffay. Heat 1, interesting. Heat 2 could bring some interesting moments too. Who are you keeping an eye on for heat number 2, Jake?
I want to dissect Heat 1 because I think that was actually quite an interesting snapshot into what this Heat 2 is going to be. The way that Quigley faded late in that race, dropped himself, got caught up on the wrong side of the circuit. I think that if this is going to be another one that's going to stay 15 laps all the way green, I think everyone's going to be looking at who's going to have those tyres drop off in those stages. I'm thinking, okay, Craig Wilcott's going to be someone who's definitely going to want to try and drive through. But Charlie Bates is definitely the car to look out for. 16, of course, blew the engine in qualifying, could have had a lot more pace. He's having to really fight here through the heats.
1 lap away from the second heat of the day today. Remember, top 7 advance directly to the feature, meaning you have to stay out of those final 3 positions on the racetrack if you want a true shot to advance. With how things have looked today, we'll see how Calbro fares out for the front row. You have competitors that have raced together in Sara and have raced together amongst the team circuit for a bit off and on. And Calbro's in the wrong spacing. Bottom line checked up. Inside line crashes. There goes half the field. No caution yet. There it is. Brett McCoy in the wall. Nick Rayberg also in the fence. Black flags galore, as that did not go well at all.
No, that is what happens when there is miscommunication. The green flag went and nobody went along with it. And just like that, there isn't much room here at South Boston. And everybody has a scramble to try and get around. Now, those black flags would have been passing before the green as everybody looks to try and get themselves turned around. And this is going to take a lot of decoupling to get everyone sorted. For example, the 17 is still stuck around trying to get that turn there. So everybody is just keeping themselves alert, and Nick Rayberg is really hoping that he'll get going. He's already going to fall about 2 laps down. Field's so spread out, he doesn't really have much room to turn.
He's already got an EOL penalty. You also have Ed Papineau having to come down to the pit lane in the midst of this sequence. We'll see how they deal with the penalties here from in-sim, because part of those penalties were simply trying to avoid the caution, if I'm seeing that correctly, Jake. The counterpoint is the inside line needed to go, but at the same time, it's off the leader's discretion.
I think they're clearing them.
Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. That's to be expected. But Calbro did not go the outside line. Charlie Bates especially jumped the leader.
Yeah, so that's going to be huge there. The 16 got the jump. I think the 16 would have got away with it because the green flag would have gone and he'd have got that clearance. And of course, the only way he can get by is on the outside. So he got the clearance. He didn't get the penalty. So I think he got away with that there to Charlie Bates with just how everything sort of played out. So he's got away with one, still in second. Calabro leader then as they will come towards the restart. But I think that is going to be the one choke point. Okay, there's the false start. Now, either that settles drivers or it gets them more angsty. And this is going to be a case of what driver mentality is going to be out there and when they get ready going for green flag racing, which I believe will come along at the end of this lap, lap 6, to get ourselves back to running here at Racing at South Boston.
Not to cause any panic for those looking to advance, but already nearly half the race complete for heat number 2. The field's already been told it's off green this time. It's an initial start because we, well, didn't really start on the initial start. So we'll try this again. Lap number 7, Calabro still in control. Bates alongside. Green flag is out and much better on the launch. Bit of a checkup still on the inside, but outside of that, Bates holds on to second, side by side for third.
Well, there's 8 drivers on the leading lap and 7 spaces, so one car at the back is not going to be a happy customer out there. That is currently Papineau at the moment, who's really scrapping it out now with Jace Hale. So those two will be going for the final transfer position as Papineau clips the wall off of 2 with a hefty shunt. But this is going to be one where he's trying to pick a pocket, getting underneath to try and find it here on 9.
Crossover, back and forth they go. A bit of rubbing again. Hale shuffle back outside the transfer spot. Ed Papineau trying to deal with all sorts of damage to the front end. Up at the front though, you still have Calabro with clean race car. Looking to try and run away a little bit from Bates. How is Curley holding on to that third spot comfortably, coming up 5 laps to go.
Yeah, and they realise they haven't really got much racing in, so they've got to get it in now. Very wide entry from Case and Howe. It's going to allow Craig Wilcott an opportunity to sniff. If he continues running that line, he is going to want to stick a nose up the inside if he can find it looking low. But he's not got there at the moment. He might just be content here with 4th. Little slow through the middle, little loose through the middle. And this is going to be starting to really jump up this field. And they've all got to behave right now because they realise, yes, if we qualify, this is our position that we start. If we don't, then this is going to be a case of, well, is it eyes bigger than the belly as they think about one position rather than the big picture of actually making the dance?
Coming to 2 laps to go in heat number 2. Calabro's led the whole way so far. Bates still holding on to the second spot. Lots of lap cars between 7th and 8th. Jace Hale has fallen hard off the pace. Looks like Hale will need a massive mistake in front to have any sort of chance to advance here. With the white flag waving, Calabro looking very comfortable. The gap is nearly half a second for the 71. Through 3 and 4. Control car to start. Controls the field the whole way. Calabro gets it done in heat number 2 over Charlie Bates. Some side-by-side amongst the lap cars, but outside of that, Case and Howe, Craig Wilcott, Gio Turpin amongst those who will be advancing. Also advancing directly to the feature, you also have Trevor Ward and Papineau. Out to the LCQ, Hale and McCoy. Nick Rayburn 2 laps down, also in that same dignification. That brings us to the consolation race. 2 advance directly to the feature. The rest of the drivers are done. So a little bit of pressure for some of these drivers because many of them were doing solid in a couple cases. Now look to find the pace they need to be at the back of the field for the feature. Let's take a look at the starting grid here. Casey Quigley, he got shuffled out on the final 2 laps of his heat race. He'll start alongside Chase Hale. Row 2, it's Kevin Miles alongside Brent McCoy. McCoy was running inside the top 7 before his incident. Ty Dennis, Nick Rayburn start in the top 6. And the rest of the starters not at the facility. Quite simply, just be in the top third of the field in the show, Jay.
Yeah, and that sometimes feels like it's such an easy statement. They've got an extra 5 laps to try and get it sorted. But I think the most important thing to remember is car 23, Nick Rayburn. didn't really have a chance to show what he had. Ty Dennis, Brett McCoy didn't really have a chance to show what they had. They're at the back of this group, and you're going to feel here, Justin, that these drivers who are further back didn't really show anything in Heat 1, in Heat 2. They're going to want to try and make a name for themselves. Even if it doesn't work out, they're going to be out there. They're going to be making moves.
20 laps up on the board, and we've talked about how normally you want to be on the bottom. It almost seems that sentiment is if you're single file, Jake. The top line seems to be doing well in defensive scenarios to a fault, or to a point.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And running that high line, I think drivers are certainly searching for that grip, and they're able to pinch down and use that 12 degrees of banking, and it's making sure that it's the perfect range as they get themselves ready to go to green. Expect that outside to be a factor all night long.
Quickly in control for the restart. We're underway for the LCQ. Clean launches quickly, wraps the bottom. Kevin Miles licks the stamp to get up to second. Chase Hale was not afraid of crossovers in the last race. Keep an eye, though, on that outside line. Rayberg is already looking for fourth.
Yeah, he's certainly making early progress here, and he's trying to use that high line to an advantage, and now he's going to have to pick a pocket because the gap very much slowed up with McCoy running up high there as he went off of the corner, and now, oh, how wide do you want to go? Bang in the background. That's a hefty hit in sympathy for Ty Dennis.
No caution yet. We stay green. Dennis is off the racetrack. We will stay green. Only a couple laps in, down to 5 drivers for 2 spots. Rayburn, so far the only one to make passes here. Hale already to the back of this queue as well with how unstable that machine's been. Hale not looking comfortable at all at the back of the field. He was your last driver in qualifying on time.
Yeah, and comfort is going to be down to setup here, and if that car is a bit too loose for his liking, especially in these cooler conditions, we're talking at about a track right now, which is 24 Celsius, so we're talking 70-something Fahrenheit. This isn't necessarily the warmest track in the world, so grip is going to be at a premium. It is very easy to get loose, and look at that. A search from Brett McCoy here on lap 6. He is desperate to get past the Joey Logano-inspired machinery in front as he hopes to get through in the middle. But look at that, it's planted. It's bus parking time, and he's going to get turned for his troubles.
Caution flag is out. Around goes the 1 and the 22. And a little bit of displeasure showcased amongst them both. Kevin Miles and Brett McCoy running each other over with their bumpers. We'll see who they give the fault to, but it is McCoy who gets the EOL. He did make a dive under the apron in 3.
Tried to go high, tried to go low, he said. He looked high, he looked then low, and then all of a sudden, there wasn't really a space, but there wasn't really a gap. He didn't really have any overlap, which meant that he could get certainly alongside. You're trying always when to say, oh, I had room, Justin, to get to that A pillar. That's the middle of the car. You've got to get about halfway across for you to really say, yeah, I had the line. You see, as he turns in, never really had it.
Yeah, he tried to get that line on the outside. He did have the argument, yes. But you have to establish that on the racing line. In most of these cases, some tracks you can use the apron, Jake, to make a pass, or is even faster. South Boston, in most cases, is not one of those because the flat apron compared to that banking.
Yeah, that banking is definitely where you'd want to be rather than the flat apron. There's a little look then from your leader out there, Casey Quigley, who's just having that all-important search back, up and down, up and down, up and down. There's a lot of multitasking here under this caution period, and you certainly get that sense that drivers are looking around to say who's got what. And speaking of which, you got Kevin Miles out there in virtual reality, so he would have had a perfect first seat view of that spin that he just had.
And now he's going to need to hope that he can find any way to get inside the transfer spots. It's going to take a couple of spots to be able to zip on by to get back there, because Nick Rayberg took advantage of all that and jumped up to second. And that might not be a good spot to be able to take back away here, because Rayberg, we already seen, look very solid. He was just remaining patient behind all that, inspiring for that second spot.
Well, the good news for Kevin Miles is that Jace Hale has been struggling here in this consolation race, and so he'll feel like being lined up on the outside, he's got a great chance. Outside might actually be an even better place to go and work, as he's just blinked out of existence there for a moment and gets himself back in, so that'll be a little bit concerning. But Miles has been great on the restarts. Keep an eye out on him as he looks to try and get the launch.
Just about ready to get back going. Less than 10 laps to go. 8 at the stripe. Green flag back out. Quigley holds on to the race lead. Rayberg holds on to second. The first battle's for third. They nearly make contact for third. Hale just about doored Miles up the track, and here comes McCoy quickly and easily to the bottom.
Yeah, that was swiftly done by McCoy. He's got 8 laps to try and drive it on through, and he might get a run. They start checking up here in the top 2 as well. Door has to be left open. Nick Rayberg took a crowbar, dived down the inside, but he couldn't quite find a way in. He's still got to keep driving and drilling it, but that outside is going to prove a thorn in many a driver's side here tonight.
Side by side for the race lead still, coming to 5 laps to go. Rayberg barely made it a full lap before he was out of contention in the last run. This time, he's looking to get himself an LCQ win. Just about clear. He is clear. It is Rayberg into the top spot with 4 laps to go. Quigley now has to play defense on McCoy.
Doesn't look too happy there, does Casey Quigley. Didn't want to lose that place, but McCoy has certainly got himself a very, very aggressive run. Look at this, he's trying to dive low, trying to pick it away. Door gets slammed shut with 4.
Down to 2.5 laps to go. Now he's playing the blocking lanes. McCoy has significant damage, and now he moves up. Brett McCoy makes contact with Quigley, moves him out of the way, coming to 2 laps to go. No caution. We're still green.
Well, McCoy wasn't very happy. He said, what lanes are everyone driving? It was overly defensive from Casey Quigley, and he was asking to be turned in that situation. White flag comes out. Rayberg with a mile, and for second, it's still on because you've still got everybody searching.
Disqualified. Car 1, Brett McCoy is parked. Checker flag waves, and because of that, Rayberg wins, but it's Chase Hale who steals the transfer.
Whoo, mama! That could have been one that went any number of ways. Chase Hale, I think, just about earned his way through by being the only car out there in that race there, Justin, to stay out of trouble.
Well, how about that for one of the former racers in the NASCAR Youth Series, being able to move on. Wisconsin-based racer takes the final transfer. Nick Rayberg dominates the race in the end. Miles, Quigley, Dennis, McCoy are all done. That means one thing. It's feature time. Already the field making the way to the racetrack. An 11-car invert to factor in. So here's how they'll start. Remember, most of the field set either by the qualifying times or by the advancers. Top 5 advance directly, but those top 5 in qualifying have to start mid-pack here. With the invert, it's Case and Howell who will start on the pole alongside Tyler Muller. Those drivers in qualifying were just a 10th off the pole. Charlie Bates and Jake Sylvia start in row number 2. Row 3, it's Dylan Calabro alongside Deegan Smith. Those drivers showed good speed in their respective races earlier. Michael Weisman, he was the first to advance in on qualifying speed, followed by Jake Grout. Then, rounding your top 10, Tanner Burge and Alex Coffey. That's your first half of the field, Jake.
It is, and then you look at row 6, and you've got the ever-present Justin Brooks, the favourite here today, with Jevon Goralski along at full company. Row 7 will house Craig Wilcott and Grant Brown. You then look at 15th, that's going to be Gio Turpin, and there'll be Kyle Adams for company in the number 24 machine. Then following that, you got Trevor Ward, Jared Shell having to lately jump back in then in 18th, with Ed Papano 19th, and Nick Rayberg in 20th. The last driver into the darts is Chase Hale, but 21 with one place in mind. P1 at the end of 225 laps.
Glad to have you with us once more. This is the Spring Classic, the 2024 edition. Misfit Racing League, glad to have you with us here on Podium Esports. Case and Howell in control for tonight's feature. It's Tyler Muller alongside the green flags out. Let's go race. already a good start. Tower Muller on the outside, able to zip to the lead already. Case and Howe trying to play defense on the inside of the setback. Muller looks quicker to start.
He certainly does look quick, and he knows that he's got to make some places early, build that gap. Those drivers, of course, who are 7th through to 11th here in terms of the race, yes, they are the quickest in terms of pace, but they'll be cold in terms of the way that they're racing out there today right now, because they've been so much in struggle, having to wait for everybody to get through their racing. A little bit of bouncing off of the walls there in the mid-pack, but it is starting to shuffle out. But now, backwards, you've got to start looking here if you're Tyler Muller, because that's Charlie Bates, who's just moved up into 2nd.
Bates, we expect to be very quick in this one. Now with the track position, it's already put up a card length, to say the least, from Muller. He looks very speedy. Here's side by side, though. Justin Brooks, Michael Wiseman. Wiseman looking a little bit bubbly in the heart of that field. Justin Brooks already up now 3 positions with this pass on the 45.
Well, a wise man once said, you don't want to be freight trained out here in a race like this, and there is the change for the race lead. Charlie Bates goes to the point. Case and Howe has to sit back in behind and wait, but you don't want to be on the wrong side of the train. It's so easy to be out of position for one corner here in a race like this, and you're outside in the wrong position for 3 laps, 4 laps, 5 laps, and you've lost 5 places. It's so quick and easy for that to happen, but everybody now is shuffling, everybody's now searching for places, and everybody's thinking, well, how much room do I have to maneuver in a race like this? Everybody's played ball very nicely through the opening 7.
Nicely done to begin this one, with Bates still holding on to the top spot. Already Brooks continuing to pick up drivers on that backdrop. He's somebody to very much watch for. He's also opening up the door for others like Tanner Burge. However, remember, Brooks really started things off in the short track scene after the collapse of a certain console game platform. iRacing now has that console license for NASCAR, for reference. But he was a multiple-time winner in eNASCAR competition on the console side. You could argue one of the most successful, in fact, from the console side, outside of maybe Budafuco.
I would say the one thing that he's done very well is translate those skills. Everyone looks at a racing game and goes, a game is a game is a game. Pace does I would say quite a lot, translate from game to game. But here on iRacing, it's the truest form. And this is what we're seeing. True pace is being found. Here's a little look then on board here, a little bit further down the pack. So this is going to be where you're going to start finding, okay, where is there a little bit of opportunity right now? It's all about the search. It's all about the pivot, and there's not really many lines that are opening up for drivers here in these early goings. You're just trying to make sure you get a nice clean run sorted and to situate where you are by about lap 150. That's when you really got to start saying, what do I need to do to get to the front?
Green flag stops, remember, were a factor at tracks like Bristol last season. We'll have to keep an eye on that one today if it comes to that point, but even more so how the tires fare out. Remember, 2 sets of tires in the pits available for today's feature race. So there is those options available for compound. Some troubles towards the back of the field. That was Kyle Adams you're seeing for a moment. Got a little bit squiggly in this pack. You see him on the inside. This is Fernand Papineau. He's on the outside of the back end of this pack in the teens still. And these drivers getting a little bit squirrely already, 15 laps through.
Yeah, and they are starting to just realise that, yes, we can race about a bit, but they've got 2 lines, and this isn't the widest circuit in the world, has to be said. You're going to have to leave a little bit of room and compromise a couple runs. 84 running beautifully there up high. That's Gio Turpin, but he does clip the wall there. 14 comes up to cover, and that's going to be big. And that's the key, trying to cover both lanes. 15 goes sideways there behind. That's not going to be ideal for Craig Wilcott there, sorry, in the 12. So that's going to be a case of going to lose a little bit of time. But we look further forward. Muller in 3rd, now has his eyes set on 2nd because they've allowed Charlie Bates to run away to 8/10. Now's the time you've got to move, and Justin Brooks already up to 4th.
Justin Brooks right now is the quickest car on the racetrack by a couple hundredths a lap in traffic, mind you. I talked about this coming into tonight, Jake. The first thing I said when I seen Justin Brooks on the entry list, top of the board in final practice, he's your favorite to win. Tower Muller already knowing so says, go on by, drive on by. It's an easy 3rd place for the 33.
and take it to road racing, that's what we call yellow helmet syndrome right there, as reference to the legendary Formula driver Ayrton Senna. You've got such a name and such a reputation that you want nothing of it. You see the yellow helmet in your rear view mirror, you're absolutely going to move out of the way, and that's what Justin Brooks got that as a factor there. Why then the issues out there on circuit for Case and Howe? He'll drop 2 places, middle of the group, Jake Grout in 12th place. This is a huge pack right now. It's 1 clear and everyone else chasing.
Yep. On contact, Sylvia gets bumped out of the way by the 13. Case and Howe trying to open a lane back up at the bottom. Deegan Smith takes advantage and makes a pass to the outside. In fact, everybody trying to pass Sylvia. It's going to be tricky for many.
It's going to be tricky for many. Everywhere you look, there is something going on. Kyle Adams here in 15th, for example, has got his eyes on Grant Brown for a place. Deegan Smith in the middle of all of this is now starting to think about what's behind me, because Sylvia and Burge are now starting to get themselves a little bit rattled up together. Burge on the high side. Sylvia has been working that one down low. Case and Howe struggling, and Deegan Smith sliding for a line there on the apron. Couldn't quite find it. Angle on here board with Jevin Gorowski, who's now going to start trying to take advantage on that high side. This is a star-studded field with a lot of drivers trying to prove their worth here. And now Gorowski on the outside of Sylvia.
More contact as well in the heart of the pack, and from the mid-pack you see some scraping still. Sylvia continues to drop back. And remember, this is going to get worse and worse at the bottom, especially with Smith now stuck there on all those marbles. No caution yet. We stay green. Smith stuck on the apron as he tries to back it up.
Oh, he's just about going to get away with it, but he's going to lose a lot of time. He was really going to have to hope for a caution. It didn't come along.
Now caution, big wreck front straightaway. Jared Shell just got thrown into the catch fence, and a side-by-side with Trevor Ward. All sorts of smoke. That was the next group about to reach Deegan Smith. But the 34 just about got launched into the grandstand.
Oh, this is going to be a hefty, hefty hit. Look, they're battling hard against each other. You can see Ward on top, Shell on the bottom. Shell comes up, nowhere to go, and ultimately he gets hooked on the quarter panel and he goes flying skyward. Not much more you can say about that, really, for Jared Shell. He's got to be so alert to it. Now, this is going to be the view back there from Deegan Smith, and he'll look behind and he'll still see carnage, but his self-spin that he had out there, I think it's come along. I would say it's spared a blush out there in terms of what he's got, because he stays on the leading lap. What it doesn't spare him, though, is the fact that he is now at the back of the group, and he's got to really think about what he does on his race moving forward.
Elo Alpelity, Jared Shell as well. There's a lot of chatter about how close it was already getting coming out of the corner. That was near disaster if you were Charlie Brooks, because, by the way, guess who was about to lap those two? The 16.
The leader.
Yeah. And there's also the side note for Charlie Bates. There's a lot of expectations for Brooks to make the pass immediately, including by Charlie Bates.
But the issue that Charlie Bates has got is he's got a very incredible driver on his outside. He's not just incredible with one account, he's incredible with 2 accounts on iRacing, and I think that's going to be something very, very telling. Now, this will be the Deegan Smith approach, or the look from the leader, sorry, there, as he goes through. This is from Charlie Bates, and this is what his view is of it. So there's the hook into the wall. Oh, he's got away with one there, because that could have gone anywhere.
Wow. Well, there was also the comment about a change of underwear, and I can see why. So we're just about set to go for the restart, though. 2 sorry competitors side by side for the restart. Inside is Bates, Brooks on the outside. Drivers have already just been told there was a faster parent session. However, Jake, if you use it, you're disqualified.
Yeah, no surprises there. It wasn't intended to be there, not intended to be used. So these drivers will have to get ready and going now.
Green flag is up back underway. We'll get a clarification on the exact reasoning. But regardless, they are still battling off this restart. Here comes Brooks for the lead. Side by side, built up on the outside line. Brooks trying to make it pretty easy. Bates trying to make it a little bit more challenging than that.
Look, Charlie Bates has got to do what he can, but that high line is working out here for Justin Brooks. He'll push again here through 4, trying to get himself clear. Half a car, 3/4 of a car, can't quite get it. Has to stay high side, driving it in through the corner, but you're going to start running out of time as you push through, and there's the clearance. Justin Brooks, your new leader.
Nicely done for Justin Brooks as he's able to hold on for the time being. Get a clarification once again on race control, making a rule clarification in the previous goings once we get the chance to. But Kowalski trying to battle alongside for the top 5. Taysom Howe yet again contact. It's getting a little bit chippy right now. Alex Coffey looking to make his way through.
Yep, and he will dive down to that inside. He'll comfortably take it away, but you're going to see these transfers, these up and unders that are going to come along, and Coffey isn't going to stay for a cup of coffee. He immediately goes on the offensive. The best defense is a good offense, and he will attack Devin Gorowski here, looking for the room. He catches a quarter panel. He'll go around. Everyone's going to scatter.
Caution flag is out. Alex Coffey around, and they're stacking up big out of turn 4. Kyle Adams involved. Gio Turpin going backwards into turn 1. Just about parking lot. Once again forming up. Coffey gets the EOL penalty.
Well, Alex Coffey says thank you for the chop. He wasn't really too happy about it as he was looking through the corner, and I don't think he's got much of a leg to stand on there. He was really trying to rush through, and then it's the chain reaction as he was sat spread eagle in the middle of the road. Everyone tried everything to try and avoid it, but ultimately the track bottled up towards the back, so it was a little bit of unnecessary contact there, but you'd have to say, look at this view. God, you had to get out of that one. Not once, but twice there if you are one Mr. I believe that's Kyle Adams, who just about had to avoid everything.
He did mention that car's about $9,000 in value. And I believe we just had someone stop and park it on the racetrack. Tanner Burge, after the parking lot, ended up getting ran over by the 13. He had a tech issue in the midst of that, Jake, and that means he's on the tow truck. Things are not going well.
That's big, because the one time you want a tech issue is under caution because you've got that chance to sort of deal with it out there. But the fact that he's been run over under this caution period, because the drivers around him won't know. They'll just think, why on earth have you just stopped? And, you know, they'll get their fist out the window and say, you know what, to you, buddy. But that's a case where he really didn't have anything he could do about that. And that's his race pretty much day done.
So the cars trying to sort themselves already. Decent chunk into the race. Justin Brooks into the race lead right now. And it obviously leads to the question when drivers are going to start thinking about the tires. At the very least, I think we know for certain fuel's going to be a factor at some point. I don't think you can go 225 laps without at least a tank of fuel in there. We've seen at Bristol, which was about a half a mile distance, albeit a lot more throttle time, Jake. Drivers could only make it to about 3/3 of the distance, or 3/4.
So it's going to be close. It is going to be dependent on cautions, you feel, because you've got to be a little bit loosey-goosey with how much you're willing to save, especially late. These caution periods are going to be important in terms of where they go, but you can't bank on these, and so you've got to just be very much alert and adept. Those who have looked to try and deal with damage early on in this race will have had an advantage compared to some of the others out there, because they would have been able to get a little morsel of fuel in the car early just to top themselves up to max. But as we get ourselves stacked up too far, we're getting ready again.
Pace car off. Once again, it's Brooks and Bates in control. More troubles through the gears for the 13. They stacked up again on the inside. Jake Sylvia takes advantage to move up to the top 5, 2x2, second up back.
Yeah, that's Tyler Muller down on the inside, really looking to attack Bates, who tried to get ahead of steam off of the corner. Bit of biffo between the two, and Charlie Bates realizes he's on the wrong side of it and now finds himself in third, still trying to push the outside line to the half. Can't quite get there. Looks down low. Gorowski having a great race, but he slides it off the apron.
Oh, some contact. That's off Muller. Bates involved. Now they spin. Deegan Smith. Many more. 24 involved under caution. Kyle Adams spun around on the apron yet again. And we're under yellow. Cautions breed cautions. The 18 is already taking responsibility on the radio in the side-by-side for second.
But the issue is that Tyler Muller gets loose on the apron. That checks up Charlie Bates into the wall. Everyone else then jumps on the scene and runs over the top, and it happens a little bit back, 2, 3, 4 rows back there around Weissman and co. Kyle Adams gets turned around in it there. Deegan Smith seemingly can't stay out of the trouble, but that's a hefty shot into the back of Weissman, and that's what sets it off.
And collected at least 3-4 drivers. Rayberg and Adams both have meet both legs. So looks like the faster pair will be on the docket for those drivers. Here's where Adams came from.
Oh.
Yeah, having a driver go windshield deep is pretty a good way to get repairs done.
Yeah, there's a hefty hit, and I think the checkbook's going to be out from one of those drivers out there. Someone's going to be paying a meal receipt at some point. But that's going to be something where you definitely look about and say, it's the old adage. You get a caution, and everybody gets a little bit more desperate out there, and you get more and more, and they happen quicker and more frequently. And to break the cycle, everyone's just got to find a tiny, tiny little bit of chill out there just to make sure they're going to put themselves in the right place to go out and race with that effectiveness that we saw in the opening 30 laps.
So the field currently getting themselves resettled in. No penalty being given out yet, at least. Muller still in second, Justin Brooks in the lead. You know who's been fairly impressive in this? 12th to 3rd, the 20 car. He's the first out of the invert spots, and is just about to start his front bumper doing so. It's Jevin Growski. Growski is currently up inside the podium positions, despite all that heavy damage.
Look, he's doing this the right way. Yes, he's got a bit of damage on the front, but one thing that he is doing better than everybody else is that he is just finding the spaces out there on track when everyone else is starting to run into troubles. There's been a little bit of contact here, a little bit of contact there, and a number of drivers have been on the wrong side of it as they've been trying to go forward. The one key has been Jevin Gorowski seemingly has avoided that. It's almost like he's got that tiny little force field that means that the 20's not getting touched.
Just about set for the restart, coming up to lap 54 already. Brooks, Muller, Gorowski, and Muntz the top 3 for this upcoming restart. Pace car off yet again. Green flags out, back to a clean restart. No penalty given during that caution period, it appears, as Brooks moves on to the point.
He does a fantastic clean start, exactly what he's hoping for and what he has seen thousands upon thousands of times here in iRacing. Big squabbles between Jake Sylvia and Charlie Bates in and around 4th position. Sylvia down on the bottom, maybe not at 100% on pace here today, but he's still going to fight with everything he's got. And a little bit further back as well, we've still got a bit of 2 wide as case in how has Ed Papano. What a run Papano's having right now, up in 7th place, 8th place.
Yeah, solidly doing well here. Papano 19th to 8th as well. Seen him with a fair bit of damage in his respective races so far tonight. Was one of those who advances the last spot in Heat 2. So far, proving his worth, doing a lot better than earlier today.
He is, and I think drivers find rhythm in a night like this. They're certainly looking to try and get form, and if you've had to run through a number of races, this is where you're going to find it. There's the 7 though, or the 5, sorry, of Alex Coffey. It's 5 on the transponder, 7 on the car, but down to that inside. This is what Papano doesn't want, to be on the outside and not have a car that opens itself up to that style of racing. This is where the key certainly opens up, and he realizes, yes, I've got the slipstream, but the inside banking is certainly favoring that 5-7 out there. Let's just call it a 6, take the middle.
Still battling firmly to the inside, quickly passed up by Coffey. As the field settles itself into a solid rhythm. Towards the back, some of the rhythm, it's worth noting, is currently beating very off if you're Jace Hale. As you look at some of the side-by-side towards the front, involving the 20 and the 16 for the 3rd position, many others are starting to lose the feel of the car. The 9s drop back 4 spots as of late. Gorowski starting to lose a bit of field, trying to get the outside of work in this defense here. A lot of these drivers are starting to really nearly knock the walls down, or in the case there, start to get loose and now nearly plow up with the shallow entries.
Well, it's not once, it's twice. There's been a little bit of front to rear there between these two, and Jevon Goralski knows exactly where to place it, and at the moment, Charlie Bates can't find an angle. Big look up high, a shove and send there from Alex Coffey. He's making moves, making many, many moves, and there's the turn. How? Right in front of the field, they're gonna junk.
Caution flag is out. And there goes Hale sliding first into it. Pace car drives on through like nothing. Several of these cars about to lose a lap. Let's see what happened.
All about 13.7. There's the push up there. That's very cheeky, but it's on the line of legality there by Coffey. He gets it absolutely perfect. And then there's the block. There, the perfect block pass. Papano just drives up onto the scene, doesn't see it coming, and he's too late to react, and that's what sends the 13 around and the chain reaction after it.
Here's a look on one of the onboards. This is from Turpin. Right into the path.
Kind of hoping that the middle was going to open up. Carl Adams was desperately trying to stay out of trouble there. He got turned around into a half spin. But if you're half a lap around and there's they go through, they're all trying to really make it all happen. And there's the hit. And it's, again, everybody checking up. Jace Hale there, right at the very end, getting caught up in the issue there without really necessarily needing to. That was effectively in stages. And we're getting a lot of drivers deciding now's the time they want to take a little bit of service because it will pay off later on in the race if they get it done now.
Black flag for Hale. Kaysen Howe coming in to get some repairs done. Nick Rayberg doing the same in the midst of this caution period. So already the pit window opening up for others, including Alex Coffey. For Coffey, at the very least, seems to be scheduled. That's the bright side of that camp. But it's starting to get a little bit emotional on the track as well. We've seen your contact in the battle for third. There's already sentiments being shared of there's only so much brake pedal one driver can have. EOL penalty, car 13, by the way, now in sim.
Yep, so that'll be Howe pulled to the back of the line. So that's going to be, I guess, not what he was certainly hoping for out there in terms of that. But that is Charlie Bates not being happy with Jevon Goralski. He's saying there's only so much brake I can use because he is absolutely marauding onto the back of Jevon, who's not got as much pace. But Jevon is using his car as the perfect brake marker at this moment. He is just managing to stop Charlie Bates from making that move. The good news is, if Charlie wants to get around him, this restart's the best time for him to do it. He'll be on the outside, and he'll be looking for a little bit of movement from Tyler Muller to give himself the opportunity to rush off.
Just well set to get back to racing. Brooks, still your leader. Much earlier of a launch this time. We're back in a... Goralski stays in the third position for now, side by side for fourth. Jake Sylvia starting to hang on that left rear a little bit, trying to get a nose ahead now with the black and pink machine. He leans on Bates.
He leans, but it's just that at the moment, he's hoping he doesn't have a Toyota Camry. He's hoping that he's got a 350Z underneath him as he looks to try and make this move. Really trying to fight this one here for fourth position, giving just an inch, and I mean only just an inch out there, half-inch tops at the moment, but you've got to look around because you've also got Deegan Smith, who's trying to get into the picture.
One driver having to come to the pit lane. We stay going, lap traffic ahead. Side by side as Jace Hale is about to be lapped by the leaders, and this could become difficult because where do you let lap cars go when you're side by side? There's not really a place to go when there's walls on the straightaways.
No, that is very true, and for Justin Brooks, he's going to have to dispatch this pretty quickly because Tyler Muller, through that last stint, and actually through this one as well, is keeping him honest at this moment in time. Caution comes out, though.
Back of the field, Tanner Birch involved. He also has Gio Turpin in it. Turpin was running 13th. Let's see what happened.
Oh, they all checked up behind the 14 as Grant Brown, who was in the middle of the corner, directly behind there through was Gio Turpin, who had nowhere to go, and into the back went Jared Shell, and everybody started careening about. Sixes and sevens they all went. and in the end, Burge was one of the drivers to get through. Again, Kyle Adams seems to be caught up in the middle of all of this. We seem to be going to him every time there's something happen. You can see, here's the check, there's the turn, where do you go? Just about gets on the binders and avoids everything.
And immediately, with the time to the caution flag and the cause, Jared Schell, second strike already. The next incident he causes for a caution flag, he's done.
Quite simple, 3 strikes and you're out. It's very easy to remember. It's the same as baseball. And at the moment, he's on strike 2, ball none. So he's going to need a little bit more help out there, and he is going to have to keep a very low profile for 150 laps.
Of note, Coffee back to the pit lane this time. You also have Grant Brown in the pit lane. We're down to 13 on the lead lap here for the Spring Classic. Just Prince Jenksbury still with you here on Podium Esports. Brian Bauer producing, and what has built up into a lot of attrition as of late. And we talked about tire sets available. We talked about fuel available. I believe the reason for the discussion earlier was less about the faster pairs that just so happen to be the main focal point for many at the time. There was also Charlie Bates, I think half-jokingly, trying to ask about moving the leader out of the way and paying winnings. They said if that ever happened, you're done as well. In other words, don't wreck the leader for the win.
Now, that is very true. You are racing for $50, but, you know, this isn't outlaw. This isn't a case of there are no rules. If you move him, you move him. You know, you've got to race with a modicum of decorum, I think's the right way to say it. Everyone should be still exchanging their pleasantries and their greetings cards and saying, hey, we're still out here. I'm you, you're me. We've raced quite a bit together, but I don't think anybody wants to be in a position of saying, you know what, we're going to shove someone out the way for the victory, especially not number 33, who has looked infallible at this moment at the front as we get ready for lap 80's restart.
Back on our way. Justin Brooks, clean launch again. This time the outside didn't get it going well. Charlie Bates opens the door for 4th with the result of checking everyone else behind him up.
Yeah, and that's how quickly the lines definitely seem to blur at this moment, because all of a sudden it's Deegan Smith who now makes the move on Sylvia. You've got behind that Michael Weissman and the ever quiet Jake Grau, who actually gets tapped, trying to save it. He wrestles it so well. That was very much a case of holding a bull by the horns. Grau continues in the 72 behind Weissman.
Well, what's the saying?
Right in the background.
Caution flag is out, is now the saying. Indeed, as Papineau's in the wall. Many more collected. That was side by side with Craig Wilcott, it appeared that time. And yet again, cautions breed cautions. Who needs Christmas cards when you can just give someone a bumper?
Oh, Papineau's going to feel unfortunate about that, because he slid himself into the corner and realised that he ran out of room pretty quickly. Look, he dives down low, he's trying to get to that high line, the gap just shuts on him, and everybody else just runs over the top. And in that situation, you know, that's so aggressive with the amount of drivers there in behind. Case and Howe finds himself just on the wrong side, batted back into harm's way, and effectively he was the fly on the end of the fly swap.
And another caution on the racetrack as a result. Lucky dog this caution for those curious. Believe because those involved in this still trying to sort it out, in fact, because it's Jared Schell. There were so many drivers with contact, at least at the time. Every driver 1 lap down at least got into that, or at least bumped somebody at the top of the yellow flag. Jared Schell, who came down the pit lane under green, is getting a lap back.
Yeah, so he's done very well to gain that lap back, and he will be one of the fortunate ones. And that happens sometimes, you know. You get a little bit of bad luck early on, you start getting on the wrong side, but look, a race gives and it takes away. It's very much a case of a 5-part Shakespearean tragedy, and you know, where you have one area of the race where it goes completely against you, you're going to get that one area back. Now, there is one car that is stopped there on the side of the road, just trying to catch who that was there who was stopped, but ultimately that's going to be someone taking a tow, I would believe. Ed Papineau is another one of those drivers who's having to hold back and wait, but Sylvia, first of the real leaders to come in and take a stop.
Strategy on the mind, and that might be enough for him to make it on gas. In fact, that might be the big brain move tonight.
Look, if he goes now and the race is going to continue under this sort of style, the one thing that he'll be a little bit behind on is tyres, but the one thing he'll certainly be ahead on is fuel. And if he can build up a margin off the restarts and not have to worry about those who are behind, I think that might actually be quite a clever decision. If he's not got the overall outright pace, he's going to have to do it on strategy. That's the only way he's going to win it.
Almost set and ready to go yet again. Justin Brooks continuing to dominate on speed so far. On the outside line, trying to make the jump. That's the short track cheeky move we've seen on iRacing over the years. It still doesn't work.
No, I think he had to really check up there, did Muller. He almost had that one sorted, but he's got away with one, but not going to get the position on Brooks, and that's going to wake him up on the next couple of restarts out there. Front four have certainly put themselves into line. You look there back, that's Jurowski trying to search through, and his continued race with pace. He's going to get into the side and slide, and he'll fall back in line.
A lot of drivers wanting to move each other there. Charlie Bates, remember, said only so much brake I can give you in terms of avoiding contact. Now he's up to the top three. Here's his look from inside the 88. This is Sylvia. He's watching one of the many side-by-sides. That's Coffey and Adams in front. You also have Jake Grout and Michael Weisman up the road. Sylvia looking like he's just playing the patience game, just waiting for a hole to open.
Well, he's got to find one way past one Jeff Gordon style car, one big red machine a la Casey Kane, and now here's the look on the outside, and again Carl Adams realises that he's going to have a completely white side of his inside left if he's not too careful, continues running that line. It's getting closer further up in front. Weissman having a little bit of a big search out there at the moment, but as things stand, everything just about falling in line. Here's the search back down on that low line in car 72. That's Jake Grout.
Grout still taking a peek underneath the 45. Weisman so far has held on solidly into the heart of the top 10 all night, despite some of the right front damage. He's one of the teammates to Bates. He's nearly been clamping the wall down much of this run as well. These drivers getting massively tight off the corner exits here with the speed they're carrying.
Yeah, and you can see that front right exposed there for Jake Grout. That's going to be costing him in terms of aerodynamic efficiency out there on circuit. It's also going to be costing him on fuel efficiency. Where the wind hits the car, it's going to be meaning that he's going to be using a little bit more compared to everybody else. Now here's Dylan Calabro. We haven't really talked too much about him in this race, but he did very well in the second heat. Managed to get himself through, victor of that, but he's been quietly looking to try and make that move. Now he'll once again search down on that low line, and you've got to look behind at Coffey as well, because he's certainly going to want to try and make his way through. Still, angle has to be left open here through 1 and 2.
Still taking the peak side by side for 7. Teammates on the sim side trying to collaborate together. Labro looking to see if Grout eventually lets him have the spot. Instead, Grout not backing down easily, wants to make it a little bit of a fight out of this. Sylvia just watching along and trying to see, are his fellow teammates going to do the smart thing?
Well, teammates only mean so much when it comes to racing like this. It's everyone for themselves when you're talking about $50 on the line. So how badly do you want the $50 is the main question here. Calabro still pushing on low. Grout not wanting to give this one up, not one bit, and all of a sudden it's about where do you go. I think his eye's bigger than the belly here. If you're Alex Coffey, he desperately wants to get by both of them, but this is not the sort of circuit you want to go 3 wide at.
Yeah, there is no room on exit for 3 wide here. We've already seen drivers going single file, knock the walls down, but the tires look like they might be again reaching a cliffing point. 3/4 to fall off for much of the field in these open sets tonight. With all the setup adjustments you can make, there's only so much you can do to prevent the car from eventually, having tire wear. That 20 hits the 45. Growski's car is looking evil all of a sudden. He's nearly spitting it out, makes the pass for his good measure.
Oh, and they are now going to be up on top, this next group, and this is where it's going to get dangerous because everybody's scrapping it out there, 5th and 6th, and suddenly the door's going to open. Jurowski's going to have to give it there to go faster. Guy Fieri Flames there on Weissman's machine's going to put him down low, and Mikey Weissman is certainly hoping he's got an opportunity. Calabro's there. Grout now going to run on that high line, hope that he's got something that opens up the door at the moment. This is beautiful mid-pack action.
Still working side by side, a couple rows deep. Sylvia already looking solid on fuel, looking for a way to poke, just allowing his teammates to try and open some of the lanes for him. Weissman starting to shuffle, and there he goes! Calabro, also collected by Alex Coffey, back under caution through turn 4.
Yeah, it was always going to be close, and it's Weissman who took the tiniest tap there through 3 and 4, sent himself around. Grout was always going to fight him on the outside line. You take a look here. Oh, it just looks like he gets loose. There's hardly anything in it.
Yeah, things getting a little bit chippy over the radio. The 45 bounced off the door, Jake Grout. Here's a look from up top. There's the bump and Calamity.
Yeah, there's hardly anything in it there from Jake Grout. He leaves more than enough room on that inside line. I think Weissman's just trying to take a little bit too much out there of him, trying to dictate tempo on that inside. But you got to get it's 6 of one and it's half a dozen of the other there. But I think Weissman there, I think he only got himself to really look at in terms of being caught up in that incident.
45 does got the EOL penalty from that. And that opens up the pit lane for just about the entire field. The only drivers not down or one to have pit at least once so far. Sylvia, Coffey, Calabro, Adams, Wilcott all staying out. Tyler Moore just came out of the pit lane. Lucky Dr. Turpin, everybody else is in the cones and off the lane now.
Justin Brooks had a very long stop compared to some of the drivers out there. He'll come back out in 10th place, all things considered. So Grout's jumped him in the stop. Bates has jumped him in the stop. You know, you turn around and you think, well, what do you have to do out there in terms of the racing? Pit stop's probably one of the most underrated things in a race like this, and Justin Brooks might be the one weakness we've seen out of him here tonight.
Yep. Longest pit lane time out of the field there, outside of maybe Growski. He did take the 4 tires. The reason Muller beat everyone else off the pit lane, he took 2 tires and the rolling transport machine to be able to get the advantage, to get up to 5th. Muller's already been tapping the wall almost every single lap. That's gonna be a handful in a bit for the 18.
Listen, 2 sometimes works, but it's not something that you bank your hat on. It's something that you look at, especially here. I think it's a bit early in the window for 2, but if he wants to trap position on 2, then by all means put 2 on. But it's going to be the case of where does he pay that back later on in this race, and I think it's going to be with the lack of balance where it's going to pay. And we talk about it being a handful. He's going to be wrestling an octopus by the time that this race is over on lap 225.
Just past the halfway point of this one. In the race lead, Jake Sylvia. So alongside Alex Coffey. Coffey with damage from the last caution. Then it's Calabro. Burge has damage from several incidents. Back under yellow, the outside line did not get a good launch. And already 2 and 3 wide at the back of the field as Ed Papano tries to let everybody by. Something must have been miscommunicated because a lot of drivers have instant blacks.
Yeah,
and now they're wrecking.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to help, but that's going to mean that everyone's going to get the flags cleared. That surely is going to have to throw the caution out there in the back, but we are green. No, there is the caution. Charlie Bates, the big loser in it, caught up on the top side of the wall. So there's a lot of miscommunication there on that start with a bit of lap traffic, but at the back of the field, everybody came through. Weissman runs over Bates there after Bates really tried to stay out of the way there of the 34 of Jared Shell, who was stuck on the low side.
The 45 just got the cause of caution for the last one. Papano was now also out of the race. That's probably going to be too straight for the 45, in fact, as nowhere to go for the 20.
Yeah, no, that's a hefty hit, and you can't really do much more about it. Black and orange mechanical flags for Bates and Weissman there with those hits. So that's going to put them out of contention for this race and is going to whittle down this field a little bit more. Lucky dogs there are going to be coming around there, like Jared Shell's going to get one. But this is what Sylvia wants, funnily enough. He wants to just tick off laps, and that's the key. Tick off laps. You get to take 5 off the book every time there is a caution, and that's what he wants right now. He wants caution after caution after caution, because he's good. He's good to the end.
Charlie Bates, done for the night. He's parked it after that incident. But you are right in terms of hoping that you keep the lead, keep the track position, hope that the cautions, breathe the cautions. But that's still a lot of laps you're hoping to turn. There are 13, 14 cars coming up to the Lucky Dog, 13 exactly now, I should say. That's still a lot of cars that you need to hold back here this whole rest of the way.
And this is where you're looking around. Tyler Muller's probably the big one at the moment. He's got to keep behind, and I think that that's the first challenge for Jake Sylvia. He's got to race Tyler Muller pretty aggressively here. Deegan Smith might be someone to keep an eye out on, but Justin Brooks is the big name, is the big fish, and everyone's looking around going, oh, what's 33 going to do? What do we do around the 33? Sylvia's tried something different. Tyler Muller's tried something different, but that is the trend setter, and everybody is worried about 33. This is 33 against the world.
Coming up to the restart, Justin Brooks is currently in the top 8. Just alongside Kyle Adams. That front row is still Sylvia Coffey. Tyler Muller still in 3rd. Deegan Smith was involved in one of the cautions early in this one with the spin. He's in the top 4. He took 2 tires on the cycle. Same time as Muller. Back underway. Muller looking for 2nd immediately. That 7 on track 5 in sim for Coffey does not seem to be running well with, you know, a lot of damage in front of that entire nose grill. And let's use the
that's
nose.
going to be the tap, trying to get him back through. Alex Coffey gets into Tyler Muller, thought he was clear. All of a sudden, he's going to have to fight hard on this high side, and Muller's just about going to get it, but again, can't guarantee the clearance because he's going to get another little nibble out to the side. Coffey is trying everything.
Technical issue for a moment for Muller, but he's still able to give a little pinch down. Coffey giving him some brakes though. All well, Smith tries to close up a little bit on the bottom of the racetrack. It's grounded his tire tracks. Muller able to shut the door this time. Grout, this time going to see a little checkup. Little space from Coffey, now with the pass clear.
Yeah, he's got it there, but he's lost a 2nd here to Jake Sylvia up here at the front. Exactly what he was hoping for out there in terms of strategy. There is some side-by-side behind us. There's Kyle Adams at it here with Justin Brooks. Brooks now looking for P6 out there. He's already got 3 in the early goings of this stint, so he'll be happy with the way that he's marking his way forward on board with Gio Turpin, who's there just behind, and Pronto Jojo. You need to find some pace to get up to those drivers. Try and follow in the wheel tracks there. Look how much on the edge there that Brooks is. It's so on edge, it's almost in line. He's driving it loose, and he's got so much control there, Justin, on the edge, the limits of grip.
Still able to hold on firmly though. Justin Brooks to also move up to that 6th position in the midst of that, as they continue on with the run. Still lots of time to work with here in this one. We're already under 100 laps to go, mind you, in this race. All of this is building up still, up towards the front, with the top 3 running the 14.7s. Brooks, with making passes, is up to a 10th quicker.
Yeah, it is absolutely sensational how he's able to thread through a lot of these moves. We look further back at Weissman. There is Brooks. He's already dispatched of Jake Grout, the 72, with his transponder, and he knows how important it is to just pick them off one at a time. He's reeling in that group for 2nd right now of Smith, of Coffey, of Muller, and Muller's 2 is certainly not doing much out there. Look at the revs there. He's staying in around 7,200. He He turns in and down as low as 5-2 as he went there in through 1 and 2.
He has the setup near perfectly too, you can argue with this one. Good car control, not hitting chips, so he has the right gearing to be able to optimize the speeds. As compared to a lot of the others we've seen early on who were right on that chip by the flag stand. Right now, Coffee, he's still holding on the third despite all that front end damage. The Carpies machine still making that ink go slidey slide. Eventually, something's gonna have to give. Deegan Smith is nearly bumping into him now.
Well, he's trying to look low. He's trying to unsettle him so he can open up that channel. And that's sometimes what you've got to do here in short track racing, is that you've got to be a little bit coy with the way that you've got to make that move. And if you're going to keep being coy, well, Deegan Smith's going to say, I'm going to play Go Fish. I'm going to want to try and get this move done on the inside. Well, Go Fish, you're going to have to wait another lap.
And already Brooks quietly walking his way back up to these drivers. Just continuing to just run his own race. I know we emphasized him a lot so far, but he's been driving that car like a Cadillac. Hence why there's a Cadillac logo on his manufacturer spot.
Look, this is more than just a General motor. It is exceptional at the moment from Brooks at this point. He is certainly on top form at this point, and everybody else knows it here with 88 to go. Slide for Jarowski there in front of Michael Weissman. 8th, 9th, 10th starting to open up here with Gio Turpin.
Welski's trying to still play some defense though. He's got damage all over the front of the race car. Weissman gonna be very touch and go the rest of the way, remember. A little bit of a defensive move as the 20 goes inside. Gio Turpin gets leaned on, the young iRacer. Able to hold on to the outside as the 20 tries to use up all the track.
Oh, he's trying everything. That could have ended in tears, but they just about get out of it. They're going Mad Max all the way on the back stretch, but Turpin will lose out that place, and all of a sudden, you go from Hunter to hunted. Weissman back low, 1 car pass.
Craig Wilcock coming out of the pit lane. We stay green. He pit under green and lost a couple laps. Smart play to move away from joining to the racing line. Still, Justin Brooks, you see him on screen, still running behind Coffee. Deegan Smith let him by easily. Coffee isn't going to do the same because Coffee's also a short track ace. He's one of the series regulars, and he is amongst those, you can argue, who's in a solid skill set in general. Coffee's really good on the short tracks as a whole.
Look, the question is, who are you going to race with, who are you not? He takes a tap from behind there. Brooks looking for the high line. And it's like you said earlier, middle line taking here. He's now starting to take some chances out there, I would say, is Coffee, because he realizes the moment Brooks goes high, I take the middle. The moment Brooks goes low, I take the middle.
Real short track experience when it comes to riding in late models. Let's rise in ISMA competition. Some of the fastest cars and super modifies in North America. He's still trying to play the defensive card. Brooks not wanting to use that bumper, but he looks like almost ready to go underneath the bumper with how he's carrying the speed apex.
Look, he's going to have to go to something at the moment. He's prioritized so well, and look at that. He's just been waiting for that opening. 3, 4, 5 laps of staring, and now he'll get 1, 2, maybe 3 laps of alongside trying to get this sorted. Coffey's going to have to go all the way on the outside, as, mind you, it goes on for the race lead. Sylvia and Muller have started to close. Sylvia's tyres now starting to let go. A full second closed down now by Muller.
So you have the battle for the race lead, bumper to bumper. Now Justin Brooks, one of the fastest cars on track, right behind. Coffee trying to get the diamond down, couldn't. Here's a look from Sylvia. Sylvia doesn't seem to have the rotation to cut on corner exit like he had before. He's the farthest out of anybody in terms of tire stints, in terms of fuel stints. He's just trying to hope he can play defense for another 75 laps.
You're asking for a miracle out of him if you want him to see a win. But here is someone who gives 100% at everything and leaves no corner unturned. And it is middle of the line. The 11 can't get the angle there. Sorry, the 18, Tyler Muller. Muller's trying everything, but question is, does Justin Brooks have anything right now? And is he going to start wanting to wake up and sense that he's got a chance? The blinking's not going to help him out there at the moment, but he's got a car that's on rails. Those two up in front are running the middle of the road. Brooks is the only one who can consistently run on that low side with pace. Sylvia slides in.
Sylvia having a hard time out of turn 2 yet again. Muller already trying to take some peeks, not able to get alongside yet. Justin Brooks starting to get a little impatient. A lot of chatter on the radio about the rubber from that 11. He's alongside. Brooks and wants traffic to go.
And watch out for the traffic, because that's going to be Jace Hale. And that might be the pick for Tyler Muller. Diving down low on the inside as they drive off the exit. Notice contact. Goes down low, saves it. But it's going to be Brooks now to the outside, trying to pick up second. And Jace in the middle of the road, nowhere to go. Down there goes everyone, just about clears it. And somehow we're all still in the right direction.
Lap traffic need to move, and what a cut by Brooks. Inside, side by side out of 2. Brooks trying to get the rotation, can't for now. He has better apex though. This is the battle for what may very likely be the win early on in this one. Brooks still has strong speed. Sylvia trying to play defense.
I'll tell you what, Jake Sylvia is doing very well on that outside line, seeing as he doesn't have the advantage compared to Brooks at the moment. But again, it's just creeping and creeping and creeping. It's half a car side by side as they head through 1 and 2. Bit of door coming off at 2. Half a car length still at 3 and 4. And still, Justin Brooks holds his nerve on that inside. Still Sylvia searching on that outside. He's got something magical as he works the Oracle. But still, they fight for this lead.
There's squeeze back for Brooks. Much more higher up the track, Sylvia. He gives some space for Brooks. Sylvia gets the better launch. Straight to the wall again for the 88. Brooks wraps the bottom still. 65 laps to go. Lots more traffic to deal with soon. If Brooks wants to make the move, he needs to do it fast because there's several RKM cars that are about to lose laps here.
Oh, and clearance. Sylvia will be happy about that. He got clearance that time, and he can finally rest easy there. Brooks threw a hammer at him, but ultimately Sylvia says, no, I match your hammer with my shield. You will not get past me just yet, but it's not over and done with. Sylvia's having to run the high line to get it sorted, and how long can he make sure those tires last?
Much better still, Brooks at the bottom of the racetrack. Sylvia preferring that second groove. Lap traffic, 10 cars ahead. You see it up the road. Brooks nearly went up into Sylvia though. Big slide in front of the leaders. Straight to the pit lane goes Tanner Burge. He moves directly out of the way. Take that out of the equation for a moment. Next lap car in rain shield Turpin. Sylvia trying to keep it single file before the traffic.
Oh, and he's doing such a great job. He is frustrating Justin Brooks right now. 88 versus 33. And I'm looking at 111 reasons why this is one of the great scraps out there. Almost in the wall once more. Traffic's going to play a part. And is this the pick that Brooks has been waiting for? Spin as they drive through the smoke. We stay green. But crucially, Sylvia is throwing everything at it. And he's holding it on here to Brooks. Meanwhile, as it goes on, 4th and 5th behind.
That was Gorelski who spun on his own from the 11th position. There's that side-by-side you're talking about. Deacon Smith working alongside, 3 wide with traffic. Coffee bucks and weaves, but is able to get on by Deacon Smith faster right now. Coffee's car is falling off. Up to the leaders though. Lap traffic choosing the bottom. Sylvia makes the pass. Justin Brooks can't get the move on as Gorelski nearly went into Brooks.
Well, I tell you what, Brooks was so brave to stick the foot in there. He has no fear out there on this circuit here in South Boston. He knows how big it's going to be if he can just keep himself in check and realize that he has momentum right now. This is a critical phase of the race, and right now Sylvia is doing just enough, and I mean just, look how low here, Brooks is trying to find everything off of every exit. He's looking for an opportunity, and it's just not there. It's a fortress right now from Jake Sylvia.
54 laps to go. Brooks yet again trying to line up tire to tire for the entry. The one difference seems to be Brooks is much better to ride that bottom of the racetrack, get the diamond down. Sylvia a lot more tighter on that right front tire. They are 6/10 off their fastest laps for reference. Sylvia seems to have good speed. Despite that, for the defensive line, Brooks is good up until he needs to make a pass.
Yeah, it's just that conviction that's needed, and I think Justin Brooks doesn't quite have what he wants at the moment because he knows it's going to be a duel. He knows it's going to be like trying to drag himself out of a rose bush. It's going to be painful. This is going to be one of those overtakes that's going to hurt, but the moment that you rip the Band-Aid off, it's going to be so worth it if he gets through.
Coming to 50 laps to go on the flag stand. Brooks yet again has a chance to peek alongside if he wants to. Still not able to quite yet. Seems like he's showing he's got pace to rotate, he's got pace to peak, he's got pace to get alongside. Is this more so? Oh no, trouble in front of the race leaders.
Oh
Caution,
yes, and
flag is out.
Yeah, that will, and it's those two. It's Jared Shell and Craig Wilcott. Now, this might be a park here if Jared Shell's got himself caught up in it here. He was stuck on the high side, and yeah, he's absolutely clipped Craig Wilcott. I think that we're going to park the 34.
He's already got 2 strikes on the race, and that's pretty clear-cut.
Look, he gets into trouble here up on the top side of the circuit, and he's just trying to keep himself out and away. The moment he starts dropping down low, I don't think he even notices that he's dropped down to half a lane there. I think that's just a case of he's switched off for half a second.
We got to go live action because we've got problems. Pit lane, Sylvia wrecked out the commitment cone.
Wow. Oh my word. You don't often get to see that, but that was a case of how late do you want it, and Sylvia saw in the mirrors here. This is how late he goes. He sees that Brooks is diving for it, and he's left that too late in my view.
Yeah, that was almost like what we seen, what was it, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch years ago at Charlotte. He's got the pit stall right there in front of Brooks. You can't just turn a hard left 3 lanes. That's how you get a crash. Apologies over the radio from Sylvia, but not what you expect. Justin Brooks is going to take some spots from that, obviously.
Yeah, and I think Jake Sylvia here realizes how important it was. It's the fact that he's come over the berm there and he's just lost that grip because he's trying to light up the tires to get into the pits, and he's just completely been thrown by it. Sylvia will get himself back out and away, but as things go, this has completely changed the context of this race. It will now mean that Brooks is your leader once more, but it will be now Muller into second and Deegan Smith in third. But as we've seen from the front, when 33 gets clean air, he's been nigh on unstoppable.
Faster pair and 2 tires for Brooks. Got first out, keep in mind, so he does not have the faster pair anymore. Tyler Muller came out second off the lane with 2 tires. Deegan Smith 2 tires. Jake Grout still has not used his faster pair in this stint. Lucky Dog going to Coffee, or at least Coffee try to shuffle. They are going to extend this restart because half the field is not ready.
Yeah, they're going to throw an extra 2 laps on top of it here. And of course, we've had one caution that's thrown itself into that position already here today. So I think drivers want to be in the right position. It's a good call there by race control to put themselves together. But now we're in the crunch time laps, and this is where you start looking around and go, who are my allies and who are my enemies, and who can I work with and who can I not? This is where you're going to have to be switched on, and every restart now has to be pitch perfect at this moment. I think everyone's going to be looking around.
Coming to 43 laps to go. 34 still in the race. They did not give a cause of caution ruling this caution period. Brooks looking to close things out. He's led 79 laps today, this time by the stripe. Tyler Muller in second, back underway. Already Muller to the second spot. Takes the second happily. Deegan Smith running for third as Grout's in the wall.
Yeah, he just about avoided it, but Dylan Calabro now starting to wake up in this race. He might take advantage, heavier into the wall this time there by Grout. So Calabro will now take that 4th place away. Grout falls back to 5th. Sylvia, who's a lap down right now in 9th place. He's desperate to try and get through and see another caution because he wants a lucky dog to get back around.
Sylvia needs a lot of luck to get up to the front, though. He's looking for 5th. Drake Grout yet again. Eventually, Grout's going to learn that wall's not going to move.
It's not. It's got a little bit of give on it, but not as much as he's hoping. He's hoping he's got half a car of give. It's got maybe, I don't know, a mil of give, 1 millimeter. That's about it. That's all about it's going to move. There's Adams. He's now going to take his look down on the inside here of Grout. He's done so well to stay out of trouble and on the lead lap here in this race. And watch out behind because Alex Coffey has got a car that's sharp through 20 laps.
Should correct myself. Sylvia actually lost a lap, Jake, because of that contact. So he's right now trying to get the lap back the hard way. He's in the lucky dog spot, but needs a caution. Justin Brooks, he's still holding on at the very front of the field, though. And it's just been that difficult to make moves on him. Same right now can be said for the difficulty of Grout holding off moves. With him basically trying to move the wall and instead moving all his fenders inside and trying to break the camber in the front toe of the right front. He's going backwards.
It's not the way he wants to go. Of course, he knows how important it is to get a good run forward. He's not going to go back too much further than 7th place right now. Only Jevin Gorowski is the only car on the lead lap behind him, so that's about as far as he can fall right now. But Coffey's got some progress and some momentum to make, and a lot of drivers here thinking about what movement can I make up through the field. Muller's keeping honest Justin Brooks, but that gap is slowly eking out. How difficult is it right now, Justin, when you've got a driver like Justin Brooks who is millimeter accurate through every single lap to try and beat perfection?
There is literally bargaining going on the radio, funnily enough, Jake. Now, apparently, the reason Justin Brooks is running this race and trying to get $50 is for his current wife/partner. After all, why not go on a date night with $50?
But if you've got a skill like what Justin Brooks has right now, I don't really mind how he spends that $50. He would have earned this $50, and he would have done so by being the best driver in this field, top to bottom. And the question that everyone else has to ask is, why am I not as good as Justin Brooks? Because everyone's got the capability of running as fast as the fastest guy. So you've just got to look at his talent, his skills, the way he drives the car, the way he sets up a car, and you've just got to turn around and go, I've got to either A, emulate him, or B, find something better.
I should probably clarify, based on what he told everybody else in the field just moments ago, especially your top 3, if he wins the $50, it's his wife's $50, so it's not his $50.
It's very much charitably going to be donated to the Bank of Girlfriend.
That's kind of how things can work sometimes. After all, racing is still racing meanwhile. I don't know if the metaphors made sense to many, but we are talking about racing now. Under 30 laps to go, Alex Coffey looking for the top 5. It's Kyle Adams, still showing why that car is worth, at least is his opinion, $9,000. Even though it's a virtual race car.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can scrub about $5 off of that for the few dings and scrapes. He's going to need to get a little bit of hot water and a plunger on that to get the dent back out again. But Alex Coffey here is going to hope that he's going to earn more than a cup of coffee's worth of overtaking prowess as he tries to find a way back through. But I tell you what, this has been one of the best drives I've seen Kyle Adams have in a very long time. He has woken up in this race, and I think a top 5 is going to be as good as a win for him. He has driven magnificently.
And he's still actually chopping away the gap at 4th spot. Calabro starting to lose a little bit of ground compared to those in front. He does have Sylvia 2 in between him, who is still a lap down with how things have fared out. Speaking of lap down cars, right now, if it keeps going the way it is, Sylvia is in the lucky dog spot, followed by Turpin, but already, pretty soon, you have to think about, is there going to be that caution to have a chance now if you're Sylvia? This seems to be one of our cleanest runs of the race.
But even if he does get a caution, you know, he's still going to be back 18 laps to try and make his way up through the field. You can't guarantee that at this point. I think he's done himself dirty here today by just being on the wrong side of reaction to Brooks and to Muller. And I think that's what's caught him out. One small mistake will cost him the race, and he will learn from that experience. But still, as it goes on, Alex Coffey's still not going to give this one up here with Kyle Adams 5 in P5. And now here's the little search to the inside. Can't quite get that.
Still can't get the run he's looking for with this late burst of speed. All that damage right on the front nose has to be hurting Coffey, because he was making these passes easily before that big incident. And here comes lap traffic. Here comes Jared Shell being lapped and packed.
Yep, so he's going to be...
Oh, no!
Turn around, just like that. Bang, big hit.
Caution flag is out, and if that's not the third strike, I'm not sure what it is.
Wow. So that is going to need a lot of dissecting here, because you can see he's stuck on that low line. He's got to hold low through the corner, but I think he's slow because he's slow, and I think there's got to be a little bit of grace that's got to be shown here, because Coffey is just trying to thread a needle that just completely closed and wasn't there. And, you know, I've got to ask the question, where is Coffey going? Shell will be disqualified for that one. That will be his third strike out there, but... You know, I think he'll feel a little bit hard done by that, because where is Alex Coffey going in that situation?
Counterpoint, the 34 at the time of that was 5 laps down, Jake. And apparently just had to get a black flag cleared for a meatball flag. So that was going to be a car running massively slow regardless. The reason for the meatball flag, or at least the black flag clear, they nearly brought up the caution, Jared Shell did, by smacking the inside wall right in front of Jake Sylvia and a couple others.
Yeah, that'll do it. So he will find out that his race is done, but the lucky dog is there now for Jake Sylvia. That will now put him into P9, and it will give himself that ability to attack. But he's not got long to jump up through this field if he can. And this might just be the most critical restart of them all. Tyler Muller has just got to be awake here to when Justin Brooks goes under green.
So with Sylvia being the lucky dog, we're down to 9 drivers left on the lead lap. Growski just held on to his lap because of a pit stop. Remember, if it comes down to it, 3 green-white checkers are available for this event. There might be a chance it comes out of that. Coffey is being told he needs to do a drive-through through the pit lane because it's his second strike. So it will be 8 cars on the lead lap after the restart.
Yep, so I guess that is a case of both drivers are at fault, you both get a penalty for it. So that will hold that as it goes through. So that's going to be a case of both of them will then find themselves with their own retrospective penalties then as they go through. But as they line up, it'll be 13 laps to go. It's Brooks versus Muller versus Deegan Smith. And I tell you what, you're going to have to wake up here if you're Tyler Muller. This is where he's got to be at his most alert. This is the race, you would argue, right here.
Deegan Smith is also in the conversation here, although he's let Justin Brooks go with an old lay side every time. This time, Muller tries to jump it. Brooks very easily makes the pass regardless into 1. Muller trying to get a boost back. This is Tyler Muller's shot. Inside, alongside Brooks to the corner panel. But it's Brooks on the defense well. He holds off. 12 laps to go.
Oh, it was a brave attempt there by Tyler Muller. He tried to get clever with it. He did well. Watch out, Calabro. He clatters into the wall, does the 71. Deegan Smith back down low, trying to take that 3rd place back. Not quite clear, though. Battling out again here. 12 left into 1 and 2.
First side-by-side still for 3rd. Calabro, he wants himself some $50. Deegan Smith starting to really slide some more at that bottom of the racetrack. Seems to be struggling a bit in this side-by-side even, because here comes Grout. Grout has taken his faster pair. The front nose is fixed. It's time to pounce.
It's time to party. If you're Jake Grout, he's looking at a way to move up from 5th into 4th and maybe even to 3rd. And he's thinking the bottom, but there's no angle there. So he has to check up here on terms of this one because he knows that Deegan Smith is trying everything right now, and he grabs a bit of apron, slides it. They fall single file. Here comes Kyle Adams down low.
Once again, Adams a peak, can't get that to work. Sylvia has now parked his car for the race. The 88's out for the closing. Down to under 10 laps to go, 7 to go, last time by for Brooks. Right now, he holds on by about half a second over Moore. If it stays green, it's going to be difficult to lose this lead with how he's played the race tonight. All throughout the night, Brooks has been considered a favorite. He is looking stellar this run.
It's been a scintillating performance here by Justin Brooks. Nothing short of what you'd expect of a driver of his caliber. There's still 3rd place to be decided. Deegan Smith cannot, for love nor money, find a way past number 71. Dylan Calabro has done everything perfectly. Timed his run at just the right time to gain just a little bit more that opens him up to where he needs to be, and his needs to be is right now P3.
Coming to 3 laps to go. He's currently running off into the morning sunrise with how it's looking. 3rd still held on by Calabro. It's been an exciting one to say the very least for this Spring Classic, and Justin Brooks putting on a near classic performance, more than 100 laps led with 2 laps to go.
This has been of the highest caliber, and a lot of drivers have been trying to throw what they can at it. Jake Sylvia has been the biggest challenge to this driver here, number 33, but there's been no arguments about him right now. He'll see Barney, and he'll see the white flag going.
White flag is out final time around here on Podium Esports. Justin Brooks outright dominant today from South Boston. As he makes his way through 3 and 4, Justin Brooks, $50 richer, wins the Spring Classic. A dominating run today at South Boston. Tyra Moore 2nd, Dylan Calabro in 3rd, Smith and Grout, your top 5.
Simply put, Justin Brooks is a marvel to watch on short track. And if you thought there was going to be any doubt here today, he was the fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, from P11 to the front, and he gets himself to victory lane, and he gets the burnouts going. And why wouldn't he? Because this is a simply important win that he's got, because he's just shown everyone that he means business.
Everybody knew he meant business entering the night. Keeps that business going all the way to the very end. 122 laps led, more than half the race went the way of Justin Brooks this evening. And as Brooks celebrates at the top of the racetrack, we'll take a quick step aside when we come back. Post-race results. You're watching Podium Esports for coverage of the Misfit Racing League, the Spring Classic, going to Justin Brooks.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to South Boston for more coverage from Podium Esports Misfit Racing League. It's Justin Brooks who takes the win over Tyra Moeller. Dylan Calabro, your top 3. Smith and Grout, your top 5. Adams, Growski, Coffey all finished on the lead lap to close things out today. Wiseman and Turpin finished inside the top 10 to close it out, Jake.
Yeah, and it was a case where a lot of drivers weren't able to get what they wanted towards the end. Trevor Ward and Tanner Burge were some of them. Jake Sylvia, a big name, getting caught out late as his opportunity of victory fell by the wayside, P14 in the end. Charlie Bates looked like he was going to be a challenger earlier in P16, but then you got likes there, of course, of Howe and Papano. Rayberg was out early, and it was only the 21 that were here today. The final driver would end up being Jared Shell, who would be disqualified after getting caught up in more than one incident here today.
Let's start with the top three first. It's third place finisher Dylan Glambro. Dylan, how did you feel about the race car today?
I definitely didn't think I'd be talking to you guys right now.
How come?
Just didn't start off really good. Started off, got wrecked a couple times. It just seemed like it was out of my hand. And a couple late race yellows and a few pit stops actually kind of helped me out with the way it cycled out. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the way outcome.
What made tonight very tricky? What made things the most difficult at South Boston, and why?
Well, it's kind of hard to pass on the bottom when you got the top side working. So you kind of got to pick and choose your spots, and it's kind of tough to run the bottom on people, and you kind of have to feed a door. And the way this track is so tight, like close quarters and stuff like that. You just never know. You could possibly wreck by doing that thing. So it's kind of tough to judge. Now,
Who would you like to thank for the run today?
Ryan Kuhn setup shop, or RKM setup shop. They were a big help with this, the setup for this race, and what to do with the pit stops helped me out. PD Designs, Yacht Club Soda, South Coast Power Equipment, and SCD Liquidation.
Congratulations once again on the run today.
Thank you.
Dylan Glambro finishing off in the top three today. Second spot went to Tyler Muller. He's with Jake Sperry.
Tyler, you had a rocket ship, but in the end, you came face to face with an alien like Justin Brooks. A tough performance out there, but for you, a very, very rewarding one with a second place today.
Yeah, it's always good getting a podium, but I was hoping we could get that one more spot for the win. Justin was just on a different level that race.
I mean, let's talk some of the strategy that you tried to do to sort of mitigate that. You went for a two-tire call at the midway point and then looked to try and find something again on strategy to get ahead of him. Just how difficult was it, especially in that middle to late stint when you know that 33 is starting to try and make that progress to get close to you? For you, when you're out there driving, what do you notice out there in terms of how other drivers are making that push behind, and how intently are you looking at those drivers and what they're able to produce on the circuit?
Every time I saw 33 in my mirror, I tended to stop looking in my mirror and pretend he wasn't there, but that didn't work. I was just trying to follow along with somebody like Jake Sylvia. I was behind him for a fair amount of laps. I was just trying to mimic what he was doing, see if I could gain any speed, and it helped, but I just still didn't have anything for Justin. I don't even know how he's so fast, but he was real fast.
It was a case of racing where there were a lot of drivers who definitely had an opportunity to show what they were made of. You were certainly one of them. Started second, finished off in second. For you, it is a strong result here in the Spring Classic. It backs up what you've done over the course of the winter. Who do you want to thank then in terms of the result? You've got a P2 here today, knowing that going to summer, you've got a little bit of form with you.
I want to thank Charlie Bates for making me a car. This is the first ever time I ran this one, so it's probably going to stay a while with how good I finished. And I want to thank Deegan Smith. He helped me with my setup and got me dialed in, so it was nice to have some help from a good setup guy.
Well, it was certainly a strong performance. Tyler Muller threw what he could at it. A P2 is certainly nothing to shake a stick at today in terms of his performance. So fantastically done there. But there is one more driver to talk to. JP, I think you've caught up with JB.
Yes, indeed. Justin Brooks coming away with the victory today, 11 to first. A dominant run for you. How are you feeling picking up today's race win?
Pretty good, man. That was a pretty fun race. Had a really strong car. I feel like could put it pretty much anywhere, and it showed. I feel like coming from the back to the front twice, and hopefully put on a good show for you guys there.
Overall, in a race like this today, what was going through your mind having to go back to front a couple times over and even having a crash entering pit road?
Well, I didn't expect that part, but back to the front part, I mean, that's the name of the game. It was a lot of fun. I love just going out there trying to set someone up for a pass and executing it and racing with people like this. This is my first time racing a league, and I had a lot of fun with some of these guys. I was out there in the track giving me room and not running me dirty or anything. That's like the best kind of race you can ask for, honestly.
Now, we were overhearing over the radio a little bit with about 30, 40 laps to go, drivers saying, do you really need the $50? And then saying the money was going, I believe you said, to your wife, if I understood that correctly. So what is your wife spending the $50 on?
That's my girlfriend, but she's sitting here recording me right now for whatever reason, but probably to get her nails done. No. She's stuck through my side through a lot of things that's been happening, especially recently. So, like, that's probably the least amount I could do for her.
I think she said no to the nails part, by the way, just so you know.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll let you two figure that one out. Anyone you want to thank for the run?
Yeah, thank you guys for obviously putting the race on. Thank the league for having a fun place to race. Like I said, had a blast racing. Everybody that's watching, all my buddies over at Brooks Speed Shop, fun little team we got going on, running mainly Sarah and stuff, and I figured I'd get out here and give it a try tonight. And want to give a shout out to my mom. I dedicate this race to my mom. She passed away 2 weeks ago, and I figured I'd get on here. You know, South Boston is one of my favorite tracks. Saw her racing, saw it was a big race, and try to see if I can get one in for her, and I did. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your mother. And again, congratulations to the win today.
Yep, thank you guys.
Justin Brooks, $50 richer today as the girlfriend ends up getting the $50. So your thoughts on this one, Jake, as Justin Brooks dominates and a very happy couple to end it.
Absolutely. I think that you're looking at today, and this was a race that was meant to be for Justin Brooks. It had his name written all over it from his times in practice, his times in qualifying, the way that he was able to manifest and make those moves up through the field. There were drivers out there today that proved that they can hold a candle to the win to someone of his caliber. Jake Sylvia put on an absolute clinic of defense before the pit stop. Out there, Tyler Muller threw what he could at it, but just wasn't quite enough. But this just goes to show you that this is the sort of caliber of talent that's here in the Misfits Racing League, and it is one of, if not the premier short track racing league out there on iRacing. And it is the biggest thing to say that, you know, this is a spring classic. This isn't a league format, but they're running league formats all throughout the winter, in through now towards the summer. They're looking at April 1st. So if you haven't had a chance to already, you just got to jump in. This is where the best short track racing is at the moment in iRacing.
Yes, this should be a fun series throughout the entire summertime, to say the very least, especially with the field size, but also with a lot of the talent we've seen on hand tonight. After all, they consider this a community race, but having to be also a part of Misfit Racing League's community to said make the start. Many of these drivers expect them to be racing throughout the summer to try and win that series title. On that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you once more for tuning in for today's coverage here on Podium Esports. For our producer, Ryan Bauer, for my co-announcer, and Jake Sperry, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Congratulations to Justin Brooks, your winner of the 2024 Spring Classic from Sobo.